I want to start with the lyrics of the song that was just sung, because I really, really felt impacted by it when Angel shared it with me during the planning of the service. Wandering in the deep of the night, 1,000 birds take flight, and our dreams are born on the wings of change. We are weaving the world tonight. As much as I enjoy the sound of these lyrics as they are, I offer one small amendment: that we are weaving the world not only tonight, but in each and every moment. Do y'all believe that? That we're weaving the world in each moment? Yeah. I see a few people nodding in agreement. I heard Angel say yes. A few more of you out there looking unsure, maybe not wanting to agree until you know where I might be going with my question. I know how y'all do. I know. So I'll get to the point and say that I, and dare I say many people, probably many of you, believe that we are indeed weavers of the world, and that each moment of our lives is a valuable contribution to the great tapestry of collective experience and consciousness. In Unitarian Universalism, this truth is reflected in our first and seventh principles: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Which means that you and your life weavings, and me and my life weavings, and we and our communal weavings help to make the tapestry of the world whole. I think the idea of this is beautiful. I mean, holy even. A vision comes to mind of tiny squares of a quilt of infinity woven through the fabric of the cosmos. Each of our lives vital to the vibrancy of the big picture. I don't know how many of y'all have phones that take a lot of pictures, but then sometimes, like on my iPhone, when I'm looking for a picture, it can look like really, really small images on the screen that if I look long enough, it then looks like a bigger picture. All of these little moments creating a larger tapestry of my life and maybe also in your lives. But you know, on an individual level, if I'm really honest and transparent, and I mean, can I be really honest and transparent with y'all? I mean, yes. Thank you. You know, you gotta ask sometimes, because sometimes people think when you're a minister that you don't go through things and have some thoughts and stuff. So I really appreciate that welcome. Thank you. I like being my authentic self. So, okay, the truth is, I don't always believe that my personal life weavings or tiny squares of life moments are as valuable as other people's life moments. Now, let me just say, I don't mean that in the way of shallow social media comparisons or anything like that. I mean, I like to think I'm a little bit more evolved than that. But, and no shade to anyone, I mean it in the context of certain historical figures, religious pioneers, and activist ancestors. I'm not going to name names, but you know, the kind of people who have major holidays and teachings of philosophies and whole religions based on their contributions to the world. I mean, I ain't jealous of Jesus or nothing, but dang, that dude is popular. Now, I was raised Christian and taught to honor the winter season as a long celebration of Jesus' birthday. This was my situation when I was growing up as a kid, but I was not expecting to be an adult and visit the tropical island of Turks and Caicos, as some of y'all know that I went over the Thanksgiving holidays. But while I was there, I was not expecting to see palm trees with fake snow and pine cones and little ornaments with little baby Jesus on them. I wasn't expecting that. I do think that this is cool. I did not plan for this to be our decoration today, but that's quite serendipitous, right? Shout out to Bonnie, thank you. But you know, while in Turks and Caicos with their pine tree kind of Christmas trees, I guess I should not have been surprised to hear on their local radio station a gospel winter holiday song, Jesus is the reason for the season, yeah, yeah. Oh, yes, he is. I don't know if anybody else grew up in Christian traditions that would sing that kind of song. No. That was a song that they used to sing at my old church, but I was surprised when I heard it on the radio over there. And it kind of inspired me to want to join. My wife, Sahai, goes to a local Christian church with her beautifully multi-religious self. And one of the things that was mentioned in their service was the upcoming celebration for Advent season, which actually begins today, December 3rd. At their church, they had a little video that led me to imagine young children who might just be learning about Jesus and the season of Advent. And I pictured them being like, wow, Jesus Christmas. Wait, I'm sorry. Let me make sure I read this right. Wow. Jesus has Christmas and a whole nother holiday to mark the holy days counting down to his birthday. That is Advent. I imagine these little kids being like, wow, people are getting hyped over the waiting period of Jesus' birth and starting celebrating it 4 Sundays in advance. If I were a kid, I would be thinking that I want my own birth to be treated as special as Jesus's. In the church that I was raised in, just the thought of that would have been considered blasphemous. Something that's wonderful about Unitarian Universalism is, as was said in our chalice lighting words, that, quote, here in our church, you are just as much as a holiday miracle as the Yule time turning of the earth, as much a miracle as the persistence of light and dedication to a faith, as much a miracle as the holy creation of new life, I would say including that of Jesus. I look forward to the day when on radio stations on islands like Turks and Caicos, a person can turn on the radio and hear a UU holiday song like one that we sang together in a service not long ago. It's not actually for Christmas, but it's one of my favorites. I think y'all might know it. It says, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Wait. Let's not break out into song. I'm sorry. I just inserted that in because I really like that song. So we definitely gonna sing it another time. So coming back. I wonder, in talking about songs, how many of you have music for your own birthday playlist? Actually, do y'all even have, yes, I see one hand. Do y'all have music playlists for your birthdays? I saw one hand, 2 hands. Wait, let me actually ask y'all this, and I really do want participation. How many of you go all out in celebrating your own birthdays or the birthdays of your loved ones? I see a couple of hands, yes? Or how many of you go all out in honor of personal anniversaries or special events in your life? A few more hands? A few more? Okay, good. A few more of you know how to celebrate yourselves and your own birthdays. I'll say that I do all right with celebrating myself sometimes, but in truth, my turn up is on a whole nother level if I'm celebrating a loved one or honoring the legacy of a community leader by celebrating their birthday, as in something like a citywide MLK Day picnic, for example, which is also considered a winter holiday happening in January. When I shared at the beginning of this talk that I have struggled with viewing my own life events as important and significant in comparison to other people, I was referring to what I believe to be a rather harmful conditioning connected to the literal and figurative deification of certain people throughout history. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of leaders like Reverend Dr. MLK, Jesus the Christ, and the Buddha, whose celebration of Enlightenment Bodhi Day also happens to be right around the corner on December 8th. I celebrate and appreciate all of these people on their special days, and I've even traveled all the way to India to sit under the Bodhi tree where the Buddha is said to have been enlightened, and I too felt my mind and spirit open to new wisdoms never experienced before. It was powerful and wondrous, but I have no idea what day it was or even what season it was. I bring this up because the thing that I'm striving to be mindful of and that I invite others to remember is historical figures and cultural icons that have been exalted or venerated for their extraordinary, seemingly miraculous experiences in their lives. They were still just people living their lives and are in no way superior. I don't know if anybody else believes that or needed to hear it, but I know that without a doubt that I'm at least preaching to myself right now. So I'm going to say it again for my own spirit, just in case they tried to miss it. The thing that I'm striving to be mindful of and that I invite others to remember is that no one, no matter how highly exalted for their extraordinary gifts and experiences, they are still in no way superior to you, to me, to anyone. The healing message that I received from this was that we need to treat our own birthdays with the same kind of regard that we give to certain holidays. Now, if any of you are like my wife or one of my colleagues who designated his whole birth month as the holiday of Michaelmas, you might not need to be encouraged to celebrate yourself or significant life experiences with divine fanfare, because you already live it up like that. But what about the other holidays you keep? How much do you get into celebrating your family traditions or even Unitarian Universalist-inspired rituals that honor the season? As we might recall hearing during our fantabulous time for all ages, there are at least 11 wintertime holidays, one of which was distinctly Unitarian Universalist. Does anyone remember what it's called? Chalaka. How many of you had heard of the holiday that's actually formerly known as Chalaka, aka the Chalice Celebration? How many of y'all had heard of it before? Great, I see quite a bit of hands. I knew a few of you knew about it because I've been following a few threads on social media, and I must admit that I was pretty delighted to witness such an excitement from members who want to celebrate the principles and values of Unitarian Universalism with the kind of enthusiasm of other winter holidays. For those who might have missed it earlier and might not know, the Chalice Celebration, formerly known as Chalaka, traditionally lasts for 7 days, usually from the first Monday in December, which would be tomorrow, following up until the following Sunday. Each day represents a different Unitarian Universalist principle, and each evening a chalice is lit by families in their homes to celebrate their UU identity and heritage. Gifts may be exchanged as a part of the celebration, but they are usually handmade and could be a verbal offering, a written promise, or an act of service tied to the theme of the 7 principles. For example, the family chalice is lit for, quote, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. And on the second day, gifts might be given to promote these ideals, spending time in service of a soup kitchen or donating new clothes or toys to local organizations that work to reduce poverty or intentionally offering kindness to others. With its specific emphasis on principles, a chalice celebration can serve as a learning tool for children who are eager to learn what makes their religion unique from others and encourage a rich sense of Unitarian Universalist identity. I will add that it's also worth mentioning that in the time since the founding of the holiday formerly known as Chalaka, the UU Association has advised against celebrating the holiday under its original name. The UUA website states, quote, Chalaka emerged out of a well-intentioned desire to have a new winter holiday organized around Unitarian Universalist principles. In the years that followed, however, UUs began voicing discomfort that this created holiday, celebrated over the course of 7 days, felt like a harmful appropriation of holidays like Kwanzaa and Hanukkah. In anti-oppression spaces, it is often said that when you know better, you do better. So out of respect for faith traditions and people who have been historically marginalized, we, the UUA, encourages Unitarian Universalists to refrain from engaging in Chalaka-related activities and to use these new understandings to help recognize appropriation. Now, I'm not going to get into discussions about appropriation and whether or not the name Chalaka or the way it's celebrated misappropriates practices of Kwanzaa or Hanukkah. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but I'd be more than happy to talk about it in a small group, possibly with some other members like the Chips Waltons, who have been facilitating discussions online around this topic. Truthfully, I don't know why Chalaka came to be, considering that there was, in fact, another distinctly UU holiday that was started over 10 years earlier. Does anyone know what that was called? It said pre-Chalaka. Anybody? I'll give a hint and say it started in 1994. That's funny. In 1994, the UU Church of Little Rock instituted the celebration of Illumination. Had y'all heard of that? It's a holiday conceived by one of the member families at the UU Church of Little Rock in response to their children's desire to celebrate not only the special days of other faiths, but a special day of their own. The church developed 2 days of weekend programming, including a illumination. And illumination is ill and then 2 U's. We like to have the two. Illumination. They had a illumination feast, songs, and a Sunday service for all ages. According to the Unitarian Universalist Association's home website, uua.org, the illumination celebration received an enthusiastic response and is now celebrated in a number of UU congregations. Although I wasn't able to find any other congregation who honor illumination, but maybe they keep their rituals secret, like a secret group with another name. Yeah, I noticed someone caught that. It might be surprising to some, but there is one more UU-specific winter holiday that is also not well known, and I'll give a hint. It was started in 2007. After the holiday formerly known as Chalaka. Does anyone know the name of that holiday? I'll say it was called Luminescence. According to a 2016 article in UU World magazine, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Santa Clarita in Southern California created the Luminescence holiday in February 2007. Rick Camlett, who was a member of the congregation's worship team, said the group had talked often about what they felt was needed for a very specific, they felt that there was a need for a very UU-specific religious holiday. He said the congregation's minister at the time, Reverend Rick Hoyt McDaniels, challenged them to, quote, work on creating a holiday of our own. Santa Clarita's worship team came up with a ritual that incorporates the flaming chalice and 5 candles that each represent a concept: the source of light, recognition, reflection, refocus, and renewal. The lighting of each one is accompanied by a reading before each member of the congregation, who then joins in lighting their own candles. It is said they named the holiday Luminescence because it is representative of the light being generated. We want it to be representative of the light we generate as members of the UU faith. The congregation typically celebrates the holiday the 3rd Sunday of February. At that moment, Camlett said, it is at a time when daylight is increasing gradually and we're looking enthusiastically towards springtime coming. The Santa Clarita congregation has celebrated Luminescence every year since 2007, The ritual has also been represented at a Pacific Southwest District Assembly where other congregations were able to join in. One church in North Los Angeles celebrated it as well, and each time new ideas and rituals have been introduced and refined. They have now created a website, luminescenceholiday.org. That's LUMINESCENCE holiday.org. That website has suggestions for services, music, including 3 hymns specifically written for the holiday, as well as readings and children's activities. The last distinctly UU winter holiday that I want to share with you is actually a 2-month-long series of interfaith events called Winterfaith, which was also started in 2007 and featured in an article in UU World. According to an article written that same year, the Mount Vernon Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, a then emerging congregation of only 20 members, embarked on a very ambitious program to spread the word not only about Unitarian Universalism, but about other religions as well. To avoid appropriation of cultural holidays not already celebrated by any of the members, the fellowship worked to establish relationships with different religious organizations and invited them to share about the winter holidays that each celebrate. In partnership and collaboration with 7 local organizations and representatives of faith communities, this small lay-led congregation organized a total of 11 events between December 2nd through January 27th to honor holidays of season. Can y'all believe that? A small lay-led congregation of only 20 members managed to coordinate and host 2 months of interfaith events? As a congregation with substantially more than 20 people, I wonder if this church would be able to do such a thing. Which brings me to my closing point. UUCT is organizing our very own Winterfest celebration. Some of you might remember an announcement going out requesting volunteers to help with planning. A follow-up announcement was not listed on the order of service, but it's not too late to join in its planning. We hope to have our first meeting this week, and if you're interested in helping craft a winter holiday, please email me at minister@uutallahassee.org or reach out to the office administrator. And for those who may be in the congregation who feel like bah humbug to all of this talk of winter celebration, I want to share a final science-related opinion that may interest you. It comes from a source that I forgot to document, but I promise it's not my own. They wrote, quote, "From an evolutionary perspective, holiday celebrations throughout history might have served as a chemical reinforcement of past good behavior. If you did something that made you happy, the reward circuit in your brain makes you remember what you did to enable you to do it again. From this perspective, a celebration can be seen as the artificial creation of more happiness after the success of the original action, which serves as an extra reinforcement of newly created pathways of joy." End quote. I close all of this with the prayer that regardless of the holidays that you keep or don't, may you always remember that you and your life weavings are holy and worthy of holidays of their own. May you celebrate them with joy. Thank you.